The last session of the day is on accountability, attitude, and approach. And here to preface this, I want us to think about when we say we believe in Akhirah and Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of judgment, what is it that exactly we are committing to? When you accept that belief, the belief in the life hereafter and the day of judgment, you're committing to acknowledging that I will be accountable, okay? That I am a consequential person, that whatever action I take, there are ramifications, good or bad, and I will have to own those ramifications. That's what it means when we say we believe in Akhirah. It means we are going to be accountable. Obviously, there the accountability is going to be through and through. And so it is a characteristic trait, or it should be, of every believer to do muhasabah, right? Self-accounting. Not just in spiritual and religious matters, but as a personality, a believing personality is an accountable personality. All of what we heard so far, you can't, somebody asked, how were these teams built? The care team or the Barize team and so forth, how are they built? They're built because they're built on certain foundations of leadership principles. Core to that, we highlighted earlier, is something that the Cafe believes in, which is emotional intelligence. Our mission statement is about emotional intelligence. But you cannot be successful as an organization if you do not embody the concept of accountability. Holding yourself, your goals, your teammates accountable to perform at the same level of excellence that you expect from yourself. And so that's my preface on this. And there's no one better to bring this to light than our very own Ali Issa. So we're going to give him a clap. Right off the beginning. So Ali, as I've said before, has been instrumental in organizing Cafe and moving things forward. He is the president of Cafe Ala Fikr, and he has significant experience in the area of accountability and leadership training through the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm just going to highlight two quotes that he's committed to. One is inculcating leadership principles from an Islamic perspective. That is what we're trying to do. We're trying to test our boundaries, that from within our own traditions and belief structures, can we forge a future that is relevant for today? And so that highlights that point. And his other philosophy is human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. And without further ado, Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. As you know, we have entered the last 10 days of the Hijjah. First 10 days, sorry. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, peace be upon him, said that there are no days during which the religious righteous action is so pleasing to Allah than these days. So alhamdulillah that this retreat has fallen during these blessed days. And so may Allah accept our journey, our intentions, and our actions during these two blessed days. So you have come to join us on a journey of imagination. And Albert Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge itself. So the journey of arbitration between the heart and the mind, that is the theme of this retreat. So the heart in specific, because the heart comes to life with the right intention. And the mind in specific, because the mind flourishes with what? With the right actions. And an evolvement from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So that's why in the beginning we have asked to have an open mind as you go through these through these discussions. So on behalf of the Cafe team, we'd like to thank you for taking this journey. And as Saud started thanking the Cafe team, I also would like to end with, thanking the Cafe team. A lot of work has been put to execute this, and I'm hoping that with the lineup of the wonderful facilitators, excluding myself, that they have exemplified what we're trying to achieve here. So obviously, as you know, we have a passion of Cafe Ala Fikr. And I have to take 1 or 2 minutes to talk a little bit about Cafe before I get into the subject. So each one of you has a treasure in you. You may know it, you may not, but each one of you has a treasure in you. It is really up to you to discover it, capitalize on it, and benefiting others from it. And this treasure could be your legacy, similar to Mrs. Aziz's legacy. So the question is, well, how do you discover it? It's simple. It's one of two things. One, on your own, and the example that I'll give you to demonstrate that is Mrs. Aziz and her presentation. She got involved, and as she got involved, she took action as children were following her. Someone else could have walked away. But because she responded to the needs of the children, that created a legacy. That was not her intention, obviously. So on your own. And the key to that is you have to get involved. And if you are not involved, you have to find a way to get involved. Simple. If you're not volunteering, volunteer. So that's a plug-in for Cafe. And if you are reading, read other things other than what your passion is. If you're not interested in art, find a way to get involved in art. That could be something that you can undiscover. The second thing is, it could take a mentor, it could take an expert or a wise person that you're associated with that could point out the gift within you. Similar to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, peace be upon him, when he told Amr ibn Khattab, you are a strong man and you are a wise man, but your strength is in your wisdom. So you are fit for a position as a wazir, a minister, a consultant, an emir. On the other hand, when he went to Khalid ibn Walid, he said, your strength is in a battlefield. Your strength is not in the mosques. And Khalid ibn Walid, if you know his story, he was very weak in the Quran. And he would mess up several times when he would lead when he would lead the folks in prayer, and they would have to correct him, even in short surahs. And he became, we know him as one of the best army commanders ever known. And then the same thing for Bilal, when he said, your gift is in your voice. When Bilal was a slave and he was freed. And then what an honor to have that you are responsible for the call of prayer. So if you are not able to do it on your own, be associated with positive people that can bring that gift out from within. So what are we trying to achieve with the Cafe Ala Fikr? Having said that, our mission is to rekindle self-awareness and inspire actions of virtue. So helping ourselves and others like you in coming to meetings like this, where you connect with one another, connect the dot between one another, to hopefully guide you through that treasure within you. And if you have found it in the past, maybe it will rekindle it, you can rediscover it, and maybe can take action on it as you leave this meeting. So when Saud asked me to speak about accountability, and then he put me at the end of the talk. And I figured, well, there has to be a reason for that. And then it came to me, who honestly would like to discuss accountability with anybody? It's a heavy discussion, it's a serious subject. Most people associate accountability with negativity or confrontation, and most people do not want to face confrontation. So I said, I get it. So my challenge with you is to bring accountability in a very positive light. And I give you a promise that I will deliver that. And you will walk away learning why accountability is so vital in our lives, how to approach it in a positive light, and what are the steps to become accountable. If I'm going to ask a question, if you know the answer, raise your hand, but do not answer. Does anybody know what this stands for? No one. Okay. I'm not going to give you the answer. I'll give you. So we have one that thinks, okay, do not say the answer. Okay, so we have two. We have three. Okay, very good. We have 4? Okay. So I'm going to start with a short story. An owner of a company at year-end review, looking at the data, realized, I am accountable for the failure and the success of my business. I'm accountable for also the development of my people. So at year-end review, looking at his people's evaluation, realized there's something missing. They could do better, so therefore the company could do better. So days went by, and then one morning, everybody came to work, and there was a big sign in the lobby that says this: the person who hindered you, your advances, and your ambitions to succeed in the company passed away yesterday. Condolences will be offered tomorrow. So you could imagine, you're walking into work, you see this sign, and you read this, and you tell yourself, first of all, this must have been a very important person for the owner of the company to put this sign in the middle of the lobby. Secondly, how horrible of that individual who passed away to hinder my advances and my successes. And who was that person? So the next morning, they come in, and he is greeting them. And he said, I have the coffin, the owner of the company, he said, I have the coffin in a private room, but you enter individually, privately, you give your condolences, and you exit. Lining up, they're anxious to see who was that person who was hindering their ambitions. Every person that walks in, they look in the coffin, and then this horror look on their face, and the shock in their face, and the disappointment, all in one. And then they walk away with their head down. Who was it? What? Not a word. Who guesses what was in? Okay, everybody knows. Okay. So there was a mirror and there was a note. What did the note say? So you got one word right. The only one who hinders your ambition, development, success is you. What he is telling them is that if you believe, and Mrs. Aziz has mentioned that 3 times in her presentation, is half belief and half passion. If you believe, there are no limitations here. Sky's the limit. So open up to imagination. So this is not new to us. We read this probably, I don't know, let's say on average once a year, if you open up the Quran once a year, right? But we read this often. إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of the people until they change what is in themselves. And we know that. The question is, why don't we do that? Why don't we evolve from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? And there is no age limit on it. You hear a lot of folks say, oh, been there, done that, man, let the young kids. There is no age limit because you are a walking role model to these young adults. And we have heard it with Cafe from the young adults. My parents did not do that. My grandparents did not do that. Why should I? Something to think about. So, when you get to accountability, I'd like to ask, how do you define accountability? And we'll probably need the mic for the folks who would like to. There are many definitions floating out there, and there is no right or wrong answer. But I'd like to get kind of a gauge on what is your perspective of what accountability is. And if you want to raise your hand and shout it out, that's fine. I'll try to capture it for the video. What is your definition of accountability? Bueller? Anybody seen that movie? No? Okay. If you don't, just Google Bueller and then you'll get the Bueller. Yes.
Okay, this is just a guess. So what I think it means is accountability means you're responsible for the commitments that you make and why you are committed to that cause or why you take an action.
Excellent. Feroz.
You're responsible to the commitments you made and in the time, deliverance of that commitment with 100%.
Excellent. So you're responsible for the commitment and why. You're responsible for commitment and the time frame.
Taking ownership of your actions.
Taking ownership of your action, and that's something that Mrs. Aziz said, taking ownership of our program. And then also Hashim, when he was talking about Bill Gates, Bill Gates saying we're going to take also ownership of our program. Okay?
Responsible for making the decision and responsible for the result also.
Excellent. So we have everything up to this, and you have results, and it goes one step beyond results. You have to categorize results in two categories actually. Who wants to take a shot at results? One or two? Two types of results. Consequences. Successful results, and the opposite? Failure. Thank you. So you have desired results and undesired results. So you can have results, but is it really what you were trying to achieve? Excellent. So, and you hit it, but for you to walk away, for you to remember it, because there were so many definitions, for you to walk away is being responsible for your actions or lack of actions. If nothing else, from the first part of the talk, when we talk about accountability, is being responsible for your actions or lack of actions. So, but why is it important? Why is accountability important? You got to know the answer to that one. There's no right or wrong answer, but you got to know the answer to that one. Yes?
Just to make the decision, it is important. It is important because you are thinking about what happens after the decision that you make. You are held responsible for what comes after.
So you're not, you're not worried about the decision, but you're worried about the consequences of making the decision. Okay? Excellent. You can't blame anybody else for it. Excellent. But why is it important?
If there's no accountability, then who's going to be responsible?
So who's going to be responsible? Okay. Yes?
So the same thing never happens again, or you correct for the future planning.
So you could end up in a vicious cycle. So yes?
Building trust.
I'm sorry?
Building trust.
Building trust. A very basic fundamental, absolutely. Yes?
Also because there's a day where you will be called and asked
Yes.
why you did something.
There you go. Excellent. So, the brother in the back and the sister in the front, to tie it together. So, accountability is important because it gives you guidance. It tells you you are on the right track. It tells you if you are on the right track, it gives you guidance. And it is important because ultimately, we are accountable here and we are accountable the day after. Yes?
I don't understand how accountability gives you guidance.
Okay.
I think you get guidance to be successfully accountable. I'm getting confused.
Okay, so so let me pause on this one. When I go through a chart, I'm going to address that because it will bring it to light why it is a guidance and why it is a reflective. It's a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of your personality. And that's why accountability is important. So it gives you guidance. It's a reflection of who you are. And you are held responsible here and the day after. Okay? So we'll definitely address that. If you think about work, if you are accountable at work, what happens to productivity? Increases. If you're accountable with your friends, what are the consequences with that? And they're good. I'm sorry? Trust, you elevate the level of trust, you elevate the level of integrity with your friends. I'm sorry? Say, I don't hear you. So it becomes smaller. So, and here's an example, and this kind of hits it a little bit hard, but it's a must conversation. I don't understand why we invented Muslim Standard Time. And Muslims are supposed to be the most punctual folks on earth, right? So where in the world have you ever heard when someone says Allahu Akbar, you have 3 million people line up in less than 3 seconds and ready and be silent and ready to pray, right? So we do that, we know that. But outside of that, we are completely disorganized and chaotic, right? So it's a cocoon that we have to step out of. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. So there's a name for the day of resurrection, and Saud mentioned it. So what is that name? The day of resurrection, Yawm al-Qiyamah. What is the judgment day? What else? Al-Muhasaba. So some call it the day of accounting, and some call it the day of accountability. So most people are fear of death because they are being held accountable in a day, yes. And that's why that, and I was going to share that sentiment with Maryland, but the time didn't come. So the question that was asked, why are we fear of death? Well, if you are not accountable for your actions, because we believe in God believe in mercy, and we know He's merciful. We present our case. He said, please forgive me. And you know, your good deeds will not get you into Jannah, but your good deeds and His mercy. So, very good. So let me simplify this a little bit to you, and then this is going to go to Mrs. Khan's question about accountability. Which one comes first? Accountability is a choice. Okay, so it's a choice. You have the power and this is what we call this. This is your normal day life. This is where you are. This is falling below the line, and this is going above the line. So during your day, going below the line and going above the line and below the line and above the line is completely normal. This below the line and above the line are contagious. Below the line and above the line are contagious, and I'll explain a little bit. What we don't want to happen is to camp in the below the line. So what does below the line look like? When you're below the line, you are basically reacting to the situation, and your reaction is represented in one of these ways. You have a deadline, you haven't met the deadline with your project. You're in denial. You denied. You said, look, you didn't give me a timeline. Where is it written in a timeline? You defer it. I said, that wasn't my job description. I delegated to somebody else. You come up with excuses. You justify it. You criticize. You said, look, I'm overworked. I got too many projects. This was not a priority for me. And you blame. And someone else blames. So you point the fingers. So, and you've heard this, when you point one finger, 3 pointing back, right? So you're telling yourself that I'm more accountable than the person that you are holding pointing the finger at. How does it feel? Well, so this is below the line, right? I can give you several examples, but I'm going to resort them to a really good case that is going to come up. But deadline is normally one that people can relate to, because we all have to deal with timelines and deadlines and projects. And you go above the line. What does it look like? When you're above the line, you are acting, so you're being proactive, and you are represented in a very positive light, in a very respectful light. And what happens is that you start to ask questions. Somebody gave you a project you're working, so let's say it's due September 30th. Okay. Is that, do I have any help? Is there a grace period? Is it dead on the 30th. You start to clarify. You start to asking questions. Can I, it's not, most of our lives are negotiable. Most of our dealings in our lives are negotiable with one another. You listen, you understand, you start to share information, you start to learn, and then you change. And this is the key thing, is here you change, here you don't change. Here you are a victim of circumstances. Here you are the star person because you are the one who is making the change. So when you go below the line and you are deferring your accountability to somebody else, that's a reflection of who you are to this person that you're dealing with. And when you are above the line, let's say you rise up above the line, and when you are above the line and you stay above the line and you apologize for whatever you've done and then you make it work, then that is a reflection of who you are as well. That increases your credibility with the person that you are dealing with. How does it feel when you are below the line? When you are below the line, how does it feel? When you are a victim of circumstances, how do you feel about that? Say that again. Sleepy. Okay. You feel like a victim? How about emotions? I mean, how can you express it with emotion? Depressed. Depression, pain, frustration, loneliness, stress, doubt, fear. How does it feel when you are above the line? Achievement. Happy. But it's the opposite, but there is something really significant when you look at it. Look at health, and look at purpose, and look at freedom. When you're below the line, you are a prisoner of your own, what you have victimized yourself of your own circumstances. And when you're above the line, the imagination, the journey of imagination that you have is endless. You have the freedom to do and act however you wish because you are being responsible, you are being accountable. Does that make sense? Does anybody want to challenge that? The Khan family. Okay, let's put this to the test. Everybody knows GM, right? Everybody knows GM. So this happened early on in the early lives of building GM cars. So the president decided that all of the complaints from the customers will come to him and not the customer service. So he's practicing accountability, the success of the cars and the company. So he got a letter from a customer, and he said in the letter that, I won't be surprised if you don't answer the letter, but I bought one of your cars, and we have a tradition in the family that after dinner, we go and eat ice cream. We go for a ride, we go eat ice cream, and we vote on which flavor of ice cream we're going to buy. When we buy vanilla ice cream, we go back to the car doesn't start. When we buy any other flavor ice cream, we go back to the car starts. Did he respond or not respond to the letter? I'm sorry? He did. So he did not respond. He didn't take it seriously. Should he? Well, that's a good question. And I'll give you the answer. Yes, he should have, because the answer is obviously GM is what GM is right now. So he didn't. So he went below the line. He denied it. He said, what's cars have to do with ice cream? I mean, this guy's crazy, right? So he denied it. He came up with excuses. So he wrote again. He said, this is the second time I'm writing you, and I know you're not going to respond, but I'm telling you the truth. This is not a joke. I am dead serious. Every time we go for a vanilla ice cream and we go back to the car does not start. And when we eat another flavor of ice cream, the car starts. I said, I cannot make sense of it, but I just want to let you know. Did he respond? Did he say, take your car to, near dealership and let it get fixed free of charge? Or he probably sent an engineer, just kind of check it out and see that whether he is correct or not. What do you think he did? First one, no response. No response. Okay. So he sent an engineer. He said, I'm going to see what this guy took the time. I'm going to see. So he sent the engineer, and the engineer followed the guy, met the guy, observed him for 3 or 4 days. Sure enough, they get ice cream and vanilla. The car doesn't start. They get any flavor. The car. He said, I don't know what, So he went back to the engineering department, went back, and so they made an observation. Vanilla ice cream was the most popular flavor, so it's ready to be served when people order it. Any other flavor, it is not popular, so it takes a little while. So you go, you buy the ice cream, and you go back to the car. The car did not have enough time to cool off to turn the engine back on. So the car was not cooling fast. When you buy another flavor of ice cream, you're there 10, 15 minutes, you go back, the car cooled off, so you were able to start it. What was the problem? Who knows cars? The cooling system. There was a problem with the cooling system. GM. So they fixed, because of the vanilla ice cream incident, they were able to figure out that it was a cooling system radiator problem. I don't know much about cars. And GM became what GM is. So he practiced going below the line, and then when he practiced being above the line, when he took action and was proactive, the results were freedom. The imagination, there are no limit to the imagination what they could accomplish. So here's the first takeaway point from the talk. Living above the line. Ask yourself 2 questions. How am I contributing to the problem? And how can I contribute to the solution? Because you do want to be part of the solution, and you don't want to be part of the problem. And Omed, when he said, Dr. King, when he said, I have a dream, right? He started by I. He didn't say we have a dream. He started by I. The journey starts with one person, the vision of one person. He said, I. But then he said, I have a dream. He didn't start by saying, I have a problem. Imagine if he said, I have a problem. See ya. Not interested, right? But I have a dream. Let me hear what it is. And then he ends, here's what our problem is. So for you to have the level of accountability and optimism in addressing the accountability of the vision that you're carrying is a great task. Any other takers? We have 4 hands. Any other takers, based on what I've said, that would like to take a shot? Not give me the answer, but would like to give me a shot at what this means. Or we still have only 4 hands? 5? 5? 6? Okay, 6, 7. Okay, well, good. Wow, we have, okay. So when we talk about hope and we talk about have a dream, what is the secret to optimism? You know this. I do really know. I really think you know this, but you're probably just not able to. Yes. I'm sorry? Dream. Believing in yourself. Excellent. Believing in God. You're close. Hope. Very good. Anyone? Okay. I'm sorry? Willpower. Excellent. All great answers. There was actually a book called The Secret. And just to find out, the author wanted to find what is the secret to happy, successful people. So he called the book The Secret. The answer was the law of attraction. The law of attraction was that you are pessimistic. If you are pessimistic, then bad things will happen to you. If you are optimistic, then good things will happen to you. Thank you. So we know this in our faith. What the Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, tells us that the most wise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I treat my servant as how he thinks of me. Husn al-dhan in Arabic. If you are optimistic, good things will happen to you. If you are pessimistic, bad things will happen to you. If you are optimistic of what God, our Creator, our Lord is, He will be positive with you. And if you are not, then you will receive whatever you believe that image of Him. Why don't we practice that? It's the Sunnah. It is the teaching of our faith to be optimistic. But why is it we always look at the glass half empty? Even there's no patience. But why is it important? Why is optimism important? So the first two parts, it's spiritual and practical. So it is important because that's the attitude of the believer, and that is also the example of all of the prophets. So it is a spiritual thing, and to have that kind of philosophy. But many research have actually gone into proving that positive, optimistic people live happier, live healthier, live longer, live more productive, less diseases, specifically cardiovascular diseases, less depression, and are more content than other people, and has nothing to do with money. What would it take to be an optimist? What would it take to be an optimist? Believing? Believe in God? Okay. So we all believe in God, but most of us believe in the glass half empty. We're not optimistic. Yes, in the back. Believe in yourself. Very good. Yes. I'm sorry? Accountability. Okay, very good. It takes to focus on solutions. Say that again? So trust in Allah. Trust in Allah for results. So here's the thing. You know, here is... Yes. So negative thoughts and tension are like birds. You cannot stop them from flying around you, but you can stop them from making a nest on you. It is your choice. They're there. You get up in the morning and you turn TV on, social media, it is full with negativity and pessimism. But it is your choice to look at it, the glass half full, because of the tawakkul, the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can change things within your control, but you cannot change things. We have the minority here of folks from our Turkey, right? Turkey, our Turkish delight. And when I looked at optimism, it's difficult for people to say what's happening to me, what's happening in my country, and I thought, I want to bring it home. This is very important to us because we hear about Palestine and Syria and Pakistan, and we say there is no hope, but look at Turkey. Look, and correct me if I'm wrong, but look at Turkey. Look at Turkey in 2001, 2002. The $1 was 5 million lira, had a huge, large deficit. Inflation was 70%. Look at Turkey now, 10, 12 years later. The dollar is 5 liras, 22? 2. So it's lower a little bit. My research is a little bit off. Unemployment is less than 10%, and here's the impressive part. The 16th largest economy in the world, the 6th clothing producer in the world, and the largest emerging market in Europe in 10, 12 years. If this doesn't give you hope that if a country can change and become a leader in the world and be respected in the world, why can't we start with ourselves to this level of accountability and the level of positive mental attitude and looking at the glass half full? Okay, so here is, many of us are familiar with this story. So the Prophet ﷺ, while a dog was going around the well and was about to die of thirst, a prostitute saw it and took off her shoe and watered it, so Allah forgave her because of that good deed. Right? Based on what I've said, bring this to life in terms of accountability and in terms of optimism for me. Who are the players in this scenario? Who are the players? We have one. Who are the players? Who are the actors? The dog, the prostitute, Allah, and then there's a fourth that is not listed in here. No. Good try. I'm sorry? It is you and me. It is you and me who this dog walked by dying of thirst, and we decided not to do anything about it. So there's four. I don't know how many noble folks, people, or how many, that the dog went by and they decided not do anything about it. I don't know how many people that the children in Pakistan followed people and didn't do anything about it until Mrs. Aziz, right? So the prostitute, there's so many things on this here that you could really go all day. But the prostitute, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what we're saying here is that the dog was about to die. But who saved him? It was the prostitute. And then the prostitute was being shamed, was being labeled, was being judged. And she wasn't looked at kindly. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling the people, who are you to judge her? I am entering her heaven because of her good deed to this dog. Not only that, but look at the level of accountability from going below the line to above the line. How did she save the dog? Yes, so she used her shoe. Would you have used your shoe? You would have used your hand. Why didn't she use her hand? And that is one of the reasons why Allah said you're going to enter Jannah. When you use your hand, the water will fall between your fingers. She was not going to be able to save that dog. So she went above and beyond, above the line, and she used her shoe to get as much water as possible so the dog can get, because he was in a state of desperation. He was about to die, so she needed to pump the fluid in him. She needs to stick that IV in there and said, come on, let's start working. So she had that vision of said, I got to do something, not just give him here, let's have some water. I've got to save this person. I've got to save this dog. So we are not in a position to be judges of who these individuals are, whether they are in a profession that we don't agree of, but we can learn by their actions and how they're leading with by example. Everybody knows this, right? Pronounce it for me. First of all, I want a Syrian to pronounce it for me. What is it? What's that? Okay, I want a Pakistani or an Indian to pronounce it for me. Where's the Imam? Okay, so when I was talking to my friends, and so the Middle Eastern folks, they said, "What's up?" Not what's up. They said, "What's up?" That's the name of it. And we talked to an Indian guy, he said, "What's up? What's up?" Not the W, not the V. And then you talk to a fellow American, say, "What's up?" That's what they call it. So who knows the story of, this is really a good story of hope too, that is fairly new. Facebook acquires WhatsApp, the largest ever acquisition in the field of communication, 19 billion. The owner of Facebook was a college student who had vision of enhancing social interaction, right? But look at the person who founded WhatsApp. 19 years old at that time, that he started from an underprivileged family, depending on government subsidy, no means, none to speak of, applied at Facebook, 2009, turned him down, and then he had the vision of also enhancing social interaction using technology. You fast forward, and he gets purchased for 19 billion. What can you tell me about below the line and above the line with this story? The founder of the WhatsApp app. What can you tell me about below the line and above the line? He was turned down, okay? He didn't give up. So we said below the line is a victim of circumstances. He was a victim of circumstances. Was depending on food stamps. He applied for a job, got turned down. Any other person who said, man, gee, just forget it. But he kept trying. When he went above the line, he really went above the line. And then he had the freedom, imagination. So he had the willpower and the vision, had nothing to do with money. Had nothing to do with money. All of the successful people, the majority of them, when they interviewed them, they had the vision and it had nothing to do with money. Obviously, it's in their mind, but it's not, I want to make money, I want to make a difference in the world. Optimism. And then they got rich, ultimately. Yes. Yes. They're not. Yeah. Cafe, we started what? At a house? Who knows the story of the FedEx? So the FedEx, the founder, Fred Smith, student at Yale in the 60s, he wrote a term paper on his vision of transporting goods around the world within 2 days. Professor failed him. He said, this is crazy, man. What do there was no vision. He said, rewrite the term paper, and I'll revise your grade. He said, keep your grade, I'll keep my vision. I'm not telling the college students to go tell their professors that, by the way, so because she said that was powerful. So I know you're out of school, but the college, don't go tell your professor, forget you. So he followed his vision, and it wasn't about money. And obviously, we know FedEx, what we know of FedEx right now. So the hope of believing and having faith and having a vision and being optimistic that I want to make a difference in the world by having medicine being transported to third world countries in less than 2 days and be able to save versus having to take 2 to 3 months. That's what it takes. That's the hope. That's the optimism that we are seeking. And then, well, do folks know the story of the king and the minister? لعله خير. Okay, so I'm going to end with this one. I'll end with this story, and then we'll have 5 minutes. And this is a narration. I don't think it's a true story, but it drives a good point home. A king and his minister always went hunting. The king was using a bow and arrow, cut his finger was cut off. So the minister was known to always say لعله خير. لعله خير meaning that something good may happen. Something good may happen. I mean, that was his motto. Something good may happen. He always looked at, with the glass half full. Or happen for a better reason. There is wisdom behind it. He was always optimistic. So the king got very upset at the minister who was a friend of his. He said, he ordered him to be jailed. He didn't like that. He cut his finger. His finger was completely cut off. And now he's got 4 on this hand. And he said, لعله خير, something better will come out of this. You're going to jail. So then the king goes hunting. Sometime later, he gets captured by a tribe. And the tribe offers him as a qurban, as a sacrifice to their God. And then they realize he is imperfect. There's a finger that is cut off. So they said, "Oh, no, it's not good enough, man. You know, even though he was a king, they released him." So the king went back to the minister, and he said, "I get it, but why did you say لعله خير, maybe something good will out of it, when I sent you to jail? You always say that, but I sent you to jail. Why would you even say that something good?" He said, "Think of it this way. We go hunting all the time. Had I been with you when you were hunting, and they found that you're imperfect, they would have captured me, and I would have been the sacrifice. I would have been the qurban. So لعله خير." So, and then obviously in our faith, this is what we know. This is not new to us. So in our faith, I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, perhaps you may dislike something which is good for you and love something which is bad for you. Syria is not a light subject, but we have faith, we have optimism. And my take on Syria is this, and some people challenge that, but you have to broaden your vision. When you think of Sayyidina Musa and the times when he was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go to Jerusalem and free Jerusalem, they said, "We're not going to go fight with you. You go fight by yourself, man. I mean, you know, are you crazy? There's a person that is very strong there, and we can't compete with that." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "You know, they're going to be lost for about 40 years. This generation is going to be lost for 40 years. It's just going to wander around." And then we said, "Well, why is that? Why 40 years?" Well, that's how long it takes to get rid of that bad generation and get new generation. So the generation that is right now is preparing for what's bigger and better. It is a sacrifice. We cannot accept the fact, and if you remember, Marilyn said acceptance was the most struggle that people faced. Acceptance. We cannot accept the fact that this sacrifice is taking place for the better good of our people coming in 20, 30, 40 years from now. But we have to have the vision to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His wisdom and learn from the history of what He taught us in the narrations and the Quran. So I'll leave you with this. A negative mind will never give you a positive light. You look at this picture, it's all gloomy. And you're trying to paint it, you look at life so positively that this is what it looks to you. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell you, I'm going to give you all the tools, all the paint tools that you need. You are going to paint your own life the way you see it. And if this is how you see it, then you have a bright future. But if this is how you see it, you're going to have a gloomy future. Okay. Who was the first person who raised their hand? The first person. Were you the first person? Okay. Yes, sir.
100% equal 1. 1 over 0 is eternity or endless, or sky is the limit.
Okay. I'll take that. Who else wants to take a shot at it? So this is 100% over 0, right? It's not okay. Yes.
100% comes with zero excuses.
What?
Okay.
What did you get it?
100% becomes with zero excuses.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
This is what we stand for with Cafe Al Fikr. And no one can challenge us. No one can challenge us with that. We stand for 100% responsibility, and we absolutely give no excuses. And those who have encountered us and our communications, I tell them this. Someone come to us and said, we have a problem with our community, and states the problem. I said, listen, there are 3 sides to the story. There are 3 sides to the story, right? We always think of the 2 sides. There are 3 sides to the story. Your side, my side. What's the 3rd side? The truth. Someone listened to me earlier. The truth. Because you can embellish your side, and I can embellish my side, but the truth is never told. We always stand for 100% responsibility, and we take absolutely no excuses for good, bad, and ugly. So I hope I was able to give you a good track on what accountability is and how to approach it positively and the steps to actually be more accountable. and I'll take maybe 2 or 3 questions. Two minutes for questions, and then we'll go for pictures. Good. Yeah, that's that. It's because we don't want any negativity. That's it. Thank you so much.